Hang on a second, because I
Appreciate that. No worries.
have not hit record, so I just hit record just now.
Okay.
So I'm gonna announce on here that this is the Four Creeks meeting on November 20th, 2024.
So before we jump in, just to kind of gauge the room a little bit, how many are familiar with the Vine service that's currently operating on Fourth Plain and Mill Plain in Vancouver? Okay, I see some hands doing this. Okay, so some familiarity. So the Vine is a type of transit service called bus rapid transit. Essentially, it combines a series of ingredients to create a faster, more efficient, more reliable type of transit. So for Fourth Plain and Mill Plain, what that looks like is the larger vehicles that you've seen on those corridors, the enhanced stations that have real-time arrival displays at every location. It's a level boarding platform to streamline that process and just make it generally work faster and dwell at each stop for a shorter amount of time. So what is coming to Highway 99 is going to look similar to that in the sense that the features will be similar. But having said that, each corridor is different. We recognize that Highway 99 is not Fourth Lane, is not Mill Plain. So we want to make sure that as we build each of these corridors, that it fits the character of the areas that it serves and is going to fit within the existing environment, operating in mixed traffic or whatever the case may be. So for Highway 99, the alignment is going to stretch all the way from the waterfront in Vancouver through Hazeldale and Salmon Creek with a terminus at WSU Vancouver. So it's about a 10-mile corridor, which is a straight shot that you cannot currently do in one seat with a one-seat ride, as the system is now that we're requiring a transfer right now with the system as it is. So the corridor will be 33 new stations along that corridor and 4 existing stations in the downtown area that would be shared with other existing Vine routes that are operating on Fourth Plain and Mill Plain right now. Next slide, please. And just zooming in a little bit to the north end, which of course is closer to this neighborhood, there will be a handful of stations in the Salmon Creek area up north of 117th Street. That does include Salmon Creek Park and Ride, which will actually be rebuilt and remodeled as part of this project to be more of a transit center. Previously, the Park and Ride was more for just a couple of commuter routes that went straight down to Portland. A lot of folks who worked over the river would park there and just ride all the way down. So with this project, the idea is to connect more of the local routes in the area to provide better connections to the Vine and elsewhere from Salmon Creek. And then a couple of stations along 139th Street at 20th and 23rd Avenue near Legacy there. And then as I said, the terminus station would be on the campus at WSU Vancouver, which is currently served by the Route 19, which has a stop that's kind of adjacent to the campus on the west side right there at 29th Avenue. So next slide, please. To zoom in even more, the station at the campus would be a pretty big change from what's there now. I mentioned that stop right now is just on the street on 29th. With this project, the idea is to actually build a dedicated busway that would go up onto campus from 29th, do kind of a turnaround there where the main loop road comes in from 139th. So the station would be right there kind of up against the road, and then a bus only lane would allow access to and from 29th Avenue to access that station. So there's a lot of benefits to that. Obviously, if you're riding the bus there now, you have to do that walk along the pedestrian path from 29th to get to the center of the campus. So this would provide, of course, more direct access for students and faculty and other members of the campus community who are going there. Yes.
Are you putting a light in there?
That's an excellent question. And the plans currently do include a traffic light at that location. I know that's a concern that a lot of folks have raised at that location, specifically with cars coming down 29th Avenue. But our plans currently, if the county approves them, do include a traffic light at that location.
That was going to be my question, because we did have a member who actually lost their dog as they were crossing in that crosswalk. Their dog got run over right next to them. So that crosswalk definitely needs some love.
Yeah, we've heard that as well.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Will there be a park and ride there as well?
That will not be a park and ride. No, that'll just be access by transit with the bus, but there will be potentially still parking access at Salmon Creek which is not too far down the corridor.
It's the cross street here, is it 51st?
148.
140, yeah, you're right, 51st.
Okay, I'm not sure what that is.
That's okay.
You'll probably know better than me.
He knows.
Okay. Next slide, please.
Eric,
Yes.
that path that exists now, is that, it looks like that graphic implies it's going to stay open as a walking path.
Correct. Yeah, the busway would essentially be adjacent to that walking path, so it would still be available for folks using it for today. To back up a little bit on the timeline of this project, that arrow is not quite where it's supposed to be, but we're potentially right in the middle right now. So 2022 is when the project really kind of kicked off in earnest, when we started kind of the initial outreach to let people know, hey, this is an idea that we'd like to do for Highway 99. That's when we really gathered a lot of the feedback from the business community and residents and others up and down the corridor, really going door to door. We had a series of open house meetings, both in person and online. And ultimately that led to the adoption of the locally preferred alternative for this project, which was last year. So that really kind of solidified what the high level plan was. And then since that time, we've been in the more detailed design phase of actually getting into the weeds of what each station is going to look like, where it's going to be in relation to each intersection, what the design is actually going to take shape as. And that's where we're at right now. So we're at about 90% design at the moment. So we're kind of getting close to the finish line in that phase of the project. And then the plan right now is to go into construction likely in the first half of 2025 with an anticipated completion in 2027. So one thing, actually the next slide I think covers more detail on construction. So yeah, when we get to that point of construction, we'll of course be out in the community again doing a long list of outreach activities. We recognize that, it's been a couple of years since this has been on the radar. Not everybody's been paying attention every step of the way like we have. So we want to make sure folks are aware of what's coming and what it's going to look like, not only during construction, but when it's complete. And when we say 2 years of construction, it's important to note that it is a phased approach. So just because the project overall will be under construction for 2 years, that doesn't mean that your location or your station is going to be under construction for 2 years. Typically, it's a phased approach where we gradually kind of work our way from one end of the corridor to the other until we get to completion on the corridor as a whole. So that's the plan for this one as well. And we'll of course, be doing a number of activities with canvassing door to door. We'll have mailers, open houses, opportunities for comment. And one thing we always make a big emphasis of is to make sure we are coordinating closely with property owners, business owners along the way to make sure access is maintained at all times. If there's a construction area that's close to a driveway, for example, or a business, and to make sure that we can make any adjustments as needed through that process. Yeah.
Which end of the corridor is the starting point?
So
Halfway, our way or down?
the plan, it's not confirmed yet, but the hope is to go north to south,
Oh.
starting at WCU and going down. But that's not 100% confirmed yet. So that'll be finalized once we get the contractor on board. But right now, that's the hope, is to go from this end down to the waterfront. Good question. Yes.
Have you looked at any of the other projects, like all the ones that we're going to be talking about after yours, and looked at the impacts there? Like, does C-TRAN work with the county and with other groups?
We do, yeah. Yeah, we'll make sure that if there's something happening nearby, at the same time we're going to work, we'll sometimes either try to avoid each other, or in some cases, like with Mill Plain, they had a big project where they were tearing up Broadway for a while, and we actually deliberately did our construction at the same time while that was already closed.
Yeah.
So it didn't create an additional impact while we were there. So we do coordinate depending on what makes more sense for the area. But
Good.
That's a good point.
There's major stuff going on 29th.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we're losing some access points, and this could impact. Okay.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
appreciate you knowing that. We'll make sure that we're coordinating as needed. So farther down the corridor near 99th Street, I wanted to touch on this just because it was a pretty big decision point in the planning process. And the question at the time was, should this project go directly to 99th Street Transit Center, which is one of our main transfer points in the system right now. And as you can tell by what the map indicates, ultimately the decision was not to go directly into the transit center at 99th Street. And the reason for that was, with the analysis we did of travel time and the number of traffic signals it takes to get in and out of that site from Highway 99, it would have added, I think, close to 10 to 15 minutes each way, going up and down both directions. So ultimately it was decided that that's just not worth the added time for a system that is intended to create more efficiency and, a faster trip for folks who are generally traveling through that area, not necessarily going to 99th Street. So with that, we are going to be keeping in mind what those other transfer locations are. So the map on the right has a number of locations circled that will be potential transfer locations. And I should point out too that map is not the current system map. That is a concept for what other local routes could look like once this opens and we make some other adjustments in the surrounding network. But we have those transfer points identified, so you can still make the same connections that you would at 99th Street today, just not all in one place. So depending on where you're going, you'll be able to do that on the corridor rather than going out of your way to a transit center and then going all the way back on the corridor on your way. And some of those stops, actually all of those stops likely on the map will have additional amenities, potentially a larger shelter, for example, recognizing that people may be out, in the elements waiting for a transfer depending on what the route is. Yeah.
Are the transfer centers going to be at the major street intersections, or are they going to be closer to the major destinations along the way, like Winco, Walmart, so people don't have to walk, a long distance to get to the stop when they have all their groceries or whatever?
Yeah, and generally Vine stations are located close to intersections. That's primarily for safety reasons, because those are protected, signalized intersections for pedestrians to cross a major corridor like Highway 99. On this corridor, I think a lot of the destinations you're talking about are pretty close to those intersections, including Winco and Walmart and Fred Meyer down at 78th. So and 78th is another example where the station actually is a little bit offset from the intersection for that reason, because Fred Meyer is really where the primary destination is. So we do try to kind of keep in mind what the surrounding environment is. But in general, they do tend to be located near intersections just because we don't want people trying to cross Highway 99, in the middle of a segment where there's no crosswalk or no signal, because that's obviously not a good outcome either. And to clarify, a transfer location is still a station. It's not like a large facility or anything like that. It's just a spot where we know a lot of transfer activity will happen. Slide, please. And then the last one for me. So I think just to back up again, so Fourth Plane, when we built that project, and Chuck moved a thing or two about that if you ever want to ask him about it. That was the first Vine corridor that C-TRAN built, because Fourth Plane at the time and today still is by far the highest transit ridership corridor in our system. Mill Plain was the second and is the second highest ridership in our system, so that made sense for the second corridor. Highway 99 is the third for a lot of reasons, including ridership, but other reasons include the forecasted growth of thousands of households and thousands of new jobs in the next 2 decades, potentially. We've got a corridor overall, not just on the north end of Salmon Creek, but the entire corridor exceeds averages in many of the community groups that historically are groups that use transit, such as folks who live in or near poverty, folks who identify as minorities, and 10% of the population on this corridor does not have a vehicle, which is twice the rate of Clark County as a whole. So it really kind of fits a lot of the criteria to make it a good candidate for this type of service that would benefit a large number of people. And just the corridor as a whole has a really wide variety, as you know, of different types of environments. There's a lot of commercial, of course, there's residential, there are some major destinations, grocery stores, schools, urban areas, a little bit less urban. So it's really kind of an ideal transit corridor for that reason, just because of the diversity of the environment that it serves as well. With that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Jay for the rest of this presentation and just sort of what to expect once we get toward construction on this corridor specifically.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Hi, everyone. I'm Jay, House Guard, Community Engagement Coordinator with C-TRAN. And I'm going to talk through a bit of some of the specifics of bus rapid transit and then what the stations might look like, some of the cool features that are involved as well. So this is just an example of what some of the station and transfer stop enhancements will look like, and how it differs from some of our more standard bus stops that you may have seen before. So the stops are relocated to minimize transfer distance, and Eric touched on this a bit, but really making sure that we're connected into the larger system as it exists now. Each of the stations will not look like the one you're seeing there in the photo. That's stations on our traditional bus routes, right? They're a little bit smaller. The stations for the Vine, the bus rapid transit, include shelters, seating, garbage receptacle. They're larger. We're going to see a photo, I think, coming up as well. And they also include real-time arrival information, which is really cool, kind of on a screen to see when the next bus arrives. So we can go to the next slide, please. So this is kind of an example of what you'll see. This is our current Vine on Mill Plain system. We also call it the red line. And this is what we call an articulated bus. This is what we use in the bus rapid transit system. It's longer. It's typically a 60-foot bus. And it has 3 sets of doors, so larger than the traditional buses that we've used before. That really helps with some of the bigger goals of bus rapid transit, which is efficiency and reliability. Rather than checking in with the operator, the bus driver at the front, you can actually just get on in the doors in the middle or in the rear of the bus. You can buy your ticket ahead of time. There's a pay station outside before the bus gets there. Or you can pay with a hot card as you step on, but you don't need to interact with the driver. It creates for a much faster process. And that's what this is all about, is that efficiency. It comes more frequently, even the busy corridor, than some of our other bus routes. So just a lot of enhancements. And then an example here is the windscreens, kind of protecting from the elements. There's additional seating. There's a trash receptacle. The real-time arrival information is on the screen there. There's overhead lighting and a security camera up above for safety. And then the platform itself is also more level with the doors to get onto the bus. So for someone with a mobility device or a bicycle, it makes for a much quicker access point getting on board. And there's also 3 bike racks on board, whereas our traditional buses, you have to pull the bike rack down in the front. I don't know if you've ever seen that, right? But so they're waiting, right? Pulling it down, getting the bike situated on there. Grab your helmet, okay. Checking with the driver. With this, you just roll it on. And good to go. So next slide, please. This is just a zoomed in example of that real-time information display. Typically every 15 minutes is the kind of frequency that we've had the Vine systems run on Fourth Plain and on Mill Plain. So you can see when you can expect the next bus to get there. And then, yeah, this is a design concept. Again, we're not quite at the final design, but this is on Vine Highway 99. It'll be similar to our other Vine stations in terms of its elevated platform, the seating, the windscreens, overhead lighting and security camera, but also the plan for the windscreens here is to include wayfinding. So kind of a map that showcases where you're currently at within the larger system and where you need to go, which is a really cool idea that we're pretty excited about. So next slide, please. It is just a map of the larger system. Like Eric said, the original Vine was the Vine on Fourth Plain. That's the green one here. In 2017, Vine on Mill Plain then came in next. That's the red line, came in October 2023. And the Highway 99 will be our third branch, as we call it, of the Vine. It's going to be also called the Purple Line. We put out a kind of a call, a vote that came in from the community on that, on the color of choice, and purple was selected. I think those are the main things. What am I missing?
The next Vine after Highway 99
Oh,
will
right.
be an extension of the original Fourth Plain line. So the sort of lighter green, this color is not decided yet, but they'll extend east from the mall where the Vine on Fourth Plain currently ends and go all the way to 162nd and then down 162nd to Fisher's Landing Transit Center. So once those 4 lines are complete, it creates sort of a network of enhanced bus rapid transit type service that benefits those corridors, but also, again, the local routes and surrounding communities that connect to them. So that's really kind of the larger vision for once these are complete.
That's great.
Yeah. It's exciting, and they really are successful. I mean, we found that after the first Vine on Fourth Lane was built, is very soon after an increase in ridership for what we call revenue ridership, right? It's revenue producing rides that shot up soon after it was built. Everyone was excited about it. And it really helps with operating costs as well, and the efficiency of transporting so many people on a higher capacity bus. So next slide, please. That's the end. Yeah, questions?
So what does this do to the existing routes? Like, are you kind of reformulating those based on these new Vine routes then?
Yeah, so like an example is right now on Highway 99, we do have an existing bus route, it's 71. And so this is gonna replace that, and it's really gonna allow for better connections into the larger system. And like Eric said, you can go all the way down to the waterfront. Right now, you can't. 71 doesn't quite even get to the waterfront. It gets to around Esther Shore Park, City Hall, but this is gonna take you all the way to the water. And yeah, it'll connect into the system that we have. Ideally, with that one map where you saw the larger black circles connecting into other routes that'll get you east and west as well.
Cool.
Yeah, usually a major project like this does involve some sort of realignment of the connecting routes too, just to make sure everything works as well as it possibly can. So as Jay mentioned, this project specifically will replace 71 and the 19, which serves Salmon Creek right now to WSU. But once we make those other sort of local route adjustments, it won't be just done in isolation, if that makes sense. Mill Plain, for example, when we opened that Vine corridor last year, it coincided with the opening of an entirely new transit center on the east side of that corridor, which we shifted a couple routes to make those connections work as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that was replacing 71 and 19?
The Route 71 and Route 19 are the two routes that currently serve that whole stretch from the waterfront up to Salmon Creek. So this would be one route to replace both of those, but cover the whole corridor. Yes.
A lot of our neighborhood in 2019 became part of the Vancouver urban growth area. And County Council and Planning Commission has done a lot of increase of density in those urban growth areas in the last couple of years. Currently, our neighborhood is really car dependent. So I'm excited to see what you're doing. And I'm also curious about how this has me thinking about C-TRAN also bringing public transit up into other corridor of more parts of our neighborhood that aren't part of the urban growth area.
Yeah, that's a great question. And C-TRAN's service area only extends as far as the urban growth boundary as defined in 2005. So I don't know if it includes all of what's currently in the UGB, but we are also in the process of doing a 20-year long range plan. So it's a great opportunity to, coordinate not only with regional jurisdictions and partners about what their plans are, but also for the community and residents to tell us what you would like C-TRAN to look like in 20 years with density even now or what's expected in the future. Where would you like C-TRAN to go? What would we do to best serve those areas that are seeing that kind of change?
Do y'all work proactively with the county on comprehensive planning that's happening right now around the current urban growth boundary and making sure that transit is part of that plan?
We do, yeah.
Okay, great.
Our planning department does coordinate very closely with, we serve 8 different jurisdictions, including unincorporated Clark County. And we're definitely keeping tabs on what they're doing and they're interested in what we're doing too. Chuck, did you have something?
Yeah, a couple of things. First is a question. Are you going to have priority in traffic lights?
I believe so, yeah. Transit signal or traffic signal priority will be incorporated in Highway 99. And for those who are not familiar, that's not the same as an ambulance, for example. It doesn't change the light unilaterally because the bus is coming, but it does sometimes allow for a green light to stay green longer, for example, if a bus is nearby, or shorten a red if it's waiting at an intersection, just to again kind of streamline the travel time.
And then second is this plan, that map that you showed with 3 routes, this doesn't happen. This is actually based on a system plan that was done back in 2008. So it's just realizing it over time, but it is a long range plan that's starting to get realized.
Yep.
It actually was a fourth one.
Where was that, if I may ask?
9205.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Not sure that's ever going to happen.
Not immediately. Any other questions? I know we have another presentation after us, but
We're doing
You're
good.
doing good.
Yeah.
okay. Well, we really appreciate the,
Oh, I'm
Chance,
sorry, I
yeah,
have one other thing.
go ahead.
The slide where you talked about the anticipated, development of X thousand number of homes and X thousand number of jobs. We obviously are very familiar with the thousands of homes and development going on.
Mhm.
I'm curious where you got the jobs figure. Because that's something that we've been kind of interested in, is we're seeing all this development.
Mhm.
We're not seeing the jobs
Good.
coming.
Okay.
So I'm curious where you found that number and what information you might have gotten on that, because we would love to hear it.
I'll have to double check. I believe that came from census data.
Okay.
But I'll have to double check and follow up with you if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Good question though.
Why did it drop back to 2015, that slide? They were given a span of years, 34 years, I think, but it dropped back to 2015. We're in 2024.
I think that's just when the projection was created, most likely, but again, I'll double check the source of
So
that.
the old comp plan.
Yeah.
The current comp plan is
Oh, right.
15/16. and that's-
Yeah.
Yeah. Community planning gave an update, was it last time? And they were talking about, having a lot of, development along Highway 99 was kind of like mixed use, retail on the bottom, living up top. Is that what you're thinking is gonna happen along Highway 99?
Possibly. I mean, C-TRAN doesn't direct development, right? But we do try to adapt when development is either happening or anticipated to happen. On Fourth Plane, we saw a lot of development happen immediately after that service opened, because there was a very attractive thing for developers to have access to that type of transit service. C-TRAN can't claim 100% credit for that happening, but it certainly is related. And I think it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg question, right? Of whether development spurs transit ridership or transit access spurs development, or vice versa. So I think they sort of work together to some extent, but we do definitely keep tabs on development applications. For example, when developers submit plans to the county to build something in 2 years or 3 years, we do pay attention to that and keep tabs on those so we know what's coming.
There's an interesting study actually in 2023, I think, independent study about like projected development effects on home values, things like that, after one of the branches that ERT is built. So I can't remember the source now, but I saw it online. If I find it, I can share it out.
Yeah, that one was actually an independent study done by a couple of people in the academic field. Basically, C-TRAN had nothing to do with it. We didn't even know it was happening until it was published, but used the Vine on Fourth Plane as a case study for economic impact of bus rapid transit. And it, as Jay said, it found a quantifiable difference in home values, for example, and some of the other economic activity that resulted from that project. Yes, sir.
What is the estimated cost and what is the source of funding?
So the estimated cost for this project is going to be right in the neighborhood of $50 million. That's the same as what Fourth Plane and Mill Plane both cost. This is a comparable distance and comparable number of stations. The funding source is primarily going to be local funds for Highway 99. So existing C-TRAN funding doesn't require any fare increase or tax increase. It's money that we have already budgeted in our capital budget. And we also have a number of grants that we'll be pursuing and have been successful in pursuing for other projects. And we're expecting that to be the case on this one too.
Any funds come from the Infrastructure Act?
Don't believe so for this specific project. We got,
Why?
I don't know if the timing quite worked out for Mill Plane. We got an FTA grant through their capital investment grant program. And that was a $25 million grant for a $50 million project. So it covered half the cost. But I don't know if we applied for that specific grant program.
That was for the Mill Plane.
For Mill Plane, yeah, that was an FTA grant that funded half of that cost. And then I think other state grants also contributed to that project as well. Yes.
What's your estimated time to go from WSU to the waterfront?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. I wouldn't even hazard a guess right now. I'd have to double check.
Seems like with 37 stops in a 10-mile area, you're not going to be very right.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be slower than driving. That's, not the only benefit, but it certainly will be faster than that trip currently on C-TRAN because it would require 2 routes and a transfer in between as it is now. So, but I will double check what the actual travel time is and make sure we give you the accurate information on that.
I think the 37 stations also is total north-south.
That's true. That's a good point.
So, from WSU to the waterfront, it won't be a total of 37 stops. It'll be a total of probably around 8. But still,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, on each side.
they're on each side of the
Yeah.
road. Yeah. So
Yeah, each intersection is a station pair, east or northbound and southbound station. That's 2 stations.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Back to mention, sorry, about this, the map and everything, the Vino 99, as well as some of our other services, customer service phone cards, if you ever call with questions.
Yeah, and if you think of anything else after the fact, let either Andrew know or contact us directly. And once we get to construction on this project, even now, actually, we have a hotline, phone number, and email address that is monitored throughout the project. So anybody can contact us that way, to business owners or residents or anybody who has questions about it.
And we'll have these slides available too for folks, if you want to check them out later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. We really appreciate that.
Your liaison has stopped in.
I see. We do have 5 minutes.
Yep.
We have exactly 5 minutes. So if you would like to come up, do our quick officer liaison report and questions.
I was
And then-
notified this like 40 minutes ago.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So I don't have a whole lot. I'm here more just for questions or concerns.
Yeah.
Um,
Does anyone have anything that they'd like to ask or anything that they're curious about?
I'm too late and I'm rather new with the sheriff's office. I was here last month, but also late that time. So
He's your neighborhood liaison.
I thought it was still Officer Christian.
Well, you have 2 of them because your area is so large, you have 2 deputy liaisons for your area.
I'll make sure. Well, kind of.
I don't even think it's technically me.
Yeah. Okay. No
I
worries.
think it's Deputy Ogby. He works the 70 area. I'm further south towards the city of Vancouver, but he's out of town right now.
Okay.
Cool. So it's me right now.
Okay, great. Thanks for stopping by.
Anything from anyone?
You probably aren't.
You might be off the hook.
Yeah, you might be up.
I'm guessing you might not have commentary about the levy that's coming up. Sheriff Porch talked last night. But any,
I've got, are you referring to like the additional deputies or what? Which particular one?
so I guess it was,
I don't know.
it was in the paper. So there's a levy that is gonna maybe be on the ballot in February.
It does have cities in Vancouver.
Yeah. No, it's in.
Wasn't.
City of Vancouver failed, but Clark
Right.
County now wants to get involved with it. And you're right, it was in today or yesterday's paper, and it hasn't yet passed the council, but they're discussing a fraction of a percent to hire more deputies, which is interesting because the county definitely came out against the levy in Vancouver because that would generate more justices and lawyers and defense lawyers and so on, and that would raise the cost for the county. And now the county say, oh yeah, now we need them more. I don't know if they took that into consideration.
I think the difference is that there wasn't the direct funds coming to the county to pay for those services. That would be for City of Vancouver.
Right.
Yeah, the budget request stuff we should probably take to a higher level to the sheriff or to your counselors. And not to the questions that we take to our deputies is more for what's happening on the streets and the patrol. We don't want to put them on the spot for that.
As far as like adding additional deputies, we are grossly understaffed right now.
Yeah.
We are about one critical incident a night from not being call responsive. So right
So
now, 17 deputies on a physical disturbance on the central side. And so I'm one of the 3 deputies for the west side of the county.
Okay.
So we are grossly understaffed in bodies.
Speaking of incidences, how do the incidents, what kind of incidents are there? How do they break down? We read about the murders and the shootings in the newspaper, but we don't hear about the other stuff. So, what are the other big categories?
It varies from self-initiated activities, all the way to your murders and suicides and
What's
and
the
shootings.
self-initiated action?
So last night, for example, we ran a license plate, came back to a stolen car, initiated a traffic stop that eluded us. We were able to get UAS opportunity to follow it around the city for a little while, spiked it, it crashed out in Lakeshore area. And we spent 2 hours with the dog and drones looking for the suspect before apprehending him in jail. That takes lots of resources and people. When you've only got 3 or 4 people on for the entire county, we're having to pull from the city of Vancouver, we had to pull from Washougal. We have to reach out to outlying agencies to get assistance with that while still being call responsive to 911 calls. So we can be a proactive police force and go out and stop crime, or we can be slowly reactive, but it all depends on staffing.
Yeah.
So
Appreciate you coming tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much. We won't keep you.
Yes, I'm one of the people who belong to the church just across the street over here.
Mhm.
We have noticed an uptick in breaking and entering into some of our buildings. 321 this morning, we had somebody in a black hoodie walking around our church. So I don't know. I know that you have, in fact, the sheriff called me to come and the alarm was going off in the church. And that just to make you aware that there is activities and things that are going around right directly in this area here.
So I assume you got cameras set up that were able to capture the individual black hoodie.
Yes.
Has that been passed on to law enforcement?
All we had was the back of the man wearing a hoodie. We didn't have anything that would show his face.
Okay.
So we're gonna be putting
It's
up
always a
more.
black hoodie.
More cameras for everybody is always possible.
Okey-dokey.
Thank you, Daphne.
Thank you so much. All right, so now let's get to our 179th Street corridor improvements. We have Scott here to talk about that. And then afterwards, we'll have Les come up and talk about the sewage project. Take it away, Scott.
Thank you. Thank you. As she said, my name is Scott Sawyer. I know I've seen many of you in other presentations. This will probably be pretty similar to what you've seen before, but we're going to a little bit further down the path. So we'll talk about what more information I have. If we can go to the next slide. I am the project manager. I have my supervisor, Troy, here, and Kaylee, who is head of our public outreach and information system. This is basically what you can expect, most likely. I'm not say most likely, because there are so many variables over the next 6 years. You probably know our first project, and what I've done is I've color coordinated the Gantt chart with where the improvements are going to be located. Makes sense? So our first project started off this summer, which was at 179th and 50th. Our next one will be this next summer in 2025 at 179th and 29th. And then we'll be hitting 179th from 15th to 26th. And then you'll see a lot of action over by the interchange. That's where you see the Delfell realignment. We have 15th going in, and then the state WASDOT's doing their interchange budget, assuming funding stays in place. Any quick questions about this? What this tells you is your life is going to be impacted over the next 6 years. Yes, ma'am.
So, I'm Heidi. I've emailed with you many
Yeah,
times.
Heidi.
I guess data on permitting and, I know that the 29th interchange requires bridges being
Yep, let's
installed.
jump to the next one. I'll go all the way down this pipe for you. I'll take you all the way down. So this is the big picture, okay? The one thing I do want to make sure you understand is that This is the long-term project at 50th. We did an interim project where we added those left turn pockets on the left, on the east and west leg. This is what that eventually will be going in. Okay, you can kind of see it now, Phil. The plan is to line the north leg in with the south leg. The interchange is going to be coming in, fixing the on and off ramps. We'll have the section between the interchange, the 15th, which is going to be a multi-lane roundabout there. And then we'll be bringing 15th Avenue up, because when the interchange comes in, it's going to eliminate the connection of 10th into 179. And the same thing with Delta. That's why we're getting those out of the way. And then, as I mentioned, there's the stretch between 15th and then 29th, and then the improvements at 29th. And this kind of shows you the contour change that's going to happen for the alignment in order to get it up to the standards that are needed for this type of traffic flow. Next slide. Oh, go ahead.
What's that big dip there?
This one right here?
Yeah.
So as you go past 29th, you go down a big hill, there's the, the horses and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, or bridge, most likely. Bridge. Yeah. Yeah.
So Scott, just, with the apartments going in Southbridge,
Yeah.
That section of 179th over the winter has iced over in places. And, there's enough folks that live in the apartments now that traffic stops going up the hill right there heading east. Is the county looking at anything in the interim so we don't have iced over roads that people are stopping on and won't be able to get up? Because that happens.
I can't really speak to that myself, just because that's a whole other wing of the county. That's our maintenance group. During the icy times, they do put de-icer down on the roads. I know they do that, but I'm not aware of anything as far as capital wise or construction wise before this comes in.
Yeah, it's just like some years people slide off the roads if they, if there's any stopping.
Yeah.
So
I've noticed they do a pretty good job of using that de-icer on 179. It's almost always there.
We try.
Yeah.
Okay, next slide. So this is what I mentioned about at 179th and 50th. We're just wrapping up construction on this one now. For those of you that were inconvenienced, I do apologize. Les will talk about his sewer work and the closure at 29th. We have this one going too, and so if you lived in between, there were times that you were. I'm sorry.
Me and Bob.
Oh yeah, I do apologize for that, but I think it's going to work a little bit better. It's supposed to last till about 2035 is what the traffic volumes show, at which time then it needs to go to a larger roundabout.
I do have a question about this though, because on the east side, northeast side, it is so steep.
Yeah.
Oh,
They did not.
Yeah.
They did not put a railing on that side.
It is there now. If you're talking about the guardrail, we had to wait till Lumen got out of our way.
Is it there today? As of today?
As of today. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're talking about right here.
I didn't go that way today.
Yes, ma'am. Go.
Okay.
It's there. I'm so happy because
Yesterday, but not today.
Lumen was so.
Okay, because every time I drove on that, I was like, oh, dear.
I know, it was scary.
Okay, so they put guardrails there.
Yes.
Okay.
County is not alone with Lumen. We've had so
Oh.
many issues in Richfield.
I think they had an implosion internally. That's the only thing I can think of. Okay, so we're done here. That was that first one. Yes, ma'am.
what's the yellow grit across there? Right there, all that.
Wetlands, I think.
Oh,
most likely.
okay.
Yeah. And typically what you see, I think it's like property boundaries and all those kinds of things, yeah. Okay. So this is the big Muhammad that you're going to be seeing over the next 2 years. 179th and 29th Avenue. As you know, right now it's a signalized intersection. The topography is pretty tough. We're coming in. We got 2 bridges to build. One here. Got a big roundabout that we have to level. We've got some pretty good sized walls that we're rebuilding. So it's going to be a pretty big construction. Roughly 18.6 million is our engineer's estimate right now to build this. So it's a big chunk of change, a big investment for our community. What I'm going to show you next is when we do a construction project, put together plans, we have to put in place, if it's a rather complicated one, a staging plan that we give the contractors to be able to bid so that everybody bids kind of on the same thing. what I'm gonna show you here is our proposal of what that staging will look like. What we wanna do is have the contractor, once we get them under contract, tell us, is there a better way to do it? Okay, so when I show you this, understand that this is our idea. We may come up with a better idea because we don't know what their resources are, we don't know what their tools are. Hopefully, they'll give us something that'll open that road up three months earlier. You know, that type of thing. Sir.
You know, when I'm up in like in the new Costco area and everything, of course, I'm just moving into this area new, so pardon my ignorance on this, but it seems like roundabouts, are they more of a liability than a help? Or why are they doing roundabouts as opposed to actual stoplights?
Because, well, and there people have different opinions on this, but what I've been told that studies show that roundabouts are safer and are less expensive in the long run. Yes, ma'am.
We have on our website a whole webpage about roundabouts that has some of that information on it about why municipalities are choosing to install roundabouts. And so I can write that webpage down and give it to you if you're interested in that.
What about us?
The one thing I will say myself personally, why I like roundabouts is because it slows people down and it takes out that potential for that angle crash, right? You have somebody who's not paying attention come ripping through there and they blow that stop sign or stoplight. It'll slow them down. They won't end wrecks, right? But what it'll do is deflect the wrecks. It will be a deflection type of wreck, which is much safer than an angle type of wreck.
That website also shows the amount of traffic that can move through a single lane or a double lane in a roundabout as opposed to a stoplight.
That's right.
And having traveled a lot in Europe and driving around in there, you never see a stoplight.
Yeah.
There's a roundabout and
Roundabouts.
Some are.
They're putting stoplights in Europe.
Well, this is a whole nother path we can go down.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Because you're right. You're right. Because
I'm just gonna stop
okay.
it.
Oh, I love this path though.
What's the sign that they put on the walls in the guitar? No stairway.
No stairway.
No stairway to heaven. If you go and you can't play stairway because they're sick of hearing it on the guitar.
But you are right though.
So
there are
you're
some.
don't move roundabout that we have done it in here, and we can have a talk afterwards if you want to.
And I'm so sorry, I had to go on though. Of that intersection grows to the point faster than they thought it would. And that's how you deal with it sometimes is you will signalize that leg to try to get, again, the openings and the gaps. So you're right. Roundabouts don't work everywhere. I'll agree 100%. Okay, but I want to go back.
Oh, go back? Okay, sorry.
Roundabout set up that it could be expanded.
Here's the next one. I was going to go exactly right, and that's why I wanted to come back this way.
Okay.
The way we're building it now is so that it's a single lane roundabout. Okay, the footprint of it though is for a multi-lane roundabout. So the way we're building it is that some of these are going to come out in the future so that it becomes a multi-lane.
It's like an apron, right?
What's that?
Like an apron. I think they called it, we can like remove it.
Yes, that's right. Yep. So you can kind of see it. This is the ultimate right there, and this is going to be the temporary, and then these will just come out.
Right.
Right. Good, Chuck. Thank you. Okay. So what you're going to see next is the staging plan that we're going to put into the construction documents for them to bid on. Okay.
Ready?
All right. First year. Okay, so probably a whole year. They're going to be focusing. We're recommending they focus on the south, the west, and the southwest area. So the south leg, west leg. Build the bridges. Build all this, the stormwater facilities. Get this all built. In the meantime, this stays open for traffic. But this will close and this will close.
For a year?
For the first part, the first year.
Right.
For a year.
For a year. That's what we're estimating. Because you got to build 2 bridges. You got to do a lot of grading. You got to build a lot of walls. It's a lot of work there. And we have restrictions on when we can work in the water.
Right.
Okay, that's first year. Okay. Next page. Then we're proposing that they move over then to the east side and then the north side. And so at this point, we're closing the whole thing. And this is gonna take about 6 months. Okay. Yeah. Next one. And then, this is the final phase, final 6 months, focusing on this last leg on the east side and then finishing up on the north leg. At this point, the south leg, the west leg, and the north leg are open. And then this would be closed.
So, I mean, I think what I'm hearing is the people that live east of the people that live east of 29 are not gonna be able to get down 179 for 2 years.
Yeah.
Did I hear that right?
That's what I'm seeing.
I think you're accurate. Yes, you're right. You're right. Okay, so the next one, let's talk about what the detours you want to look like. So we talked about that first stage, right? So what will be then requiring for through traffic, bring you up to 199 and now clean up. Right. Okay. Next stage.
Next slide.
Oh, next slide. I'm sorry. Oh, on the south side of 179, what we'll be recommending is people go over 139 up to 20th, without 15. Because they won't be able to access 20 to go through. Okay. Next slide. Yes.
Would the county be willing to send us all on a 1.5 cruise? So we don't have
I mean, I think the $18 million, that's probably close to what it would cost, right?
Right. You'll have to take that a little bit higher pay grade than money. Okay. During that, yeah. During that second phase. All right. At this point now we've closed off all lanes. Now we're diverting you over to get. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then the south side pretty much stays the same.
Just clarifying for my notes.
Yeah.
So the portion where you're where it's going to be closed, sounds like that was between the end of year 1 and 6 months. It's basically the 6-month period, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So just like for instance, so Battleground School District picks up kids that are like just south of 179, kind of on the east side of 29. So they're gonna have to go. What's their route to pick up the kids?
They really have that's the only route they have. There's no
All
other,
the
there's no
way-
other roads.
All the way up to 199, across 10th down 15th to 158, and then back up.
Like, how are they gonna pick up my kids? Cause I live on 47.
Okay.
My kids are gonna be in kindergarten next
You're
next fall.
but
47 's right there.
Okay, so they're gonna have to put down 50th and back.
How are they gonna turn around? So like, if this is my property, like right here, and the bus is coming down here to pick my kids up right here, and all these kids in the new Bramble Creek, but this is closed,
Well, it's trying to keep going to your west, right?
where's the bus gonna go?
It's gonna go this way and then find a way to turn around.
There's no roads. There's literally no other roads.
Yeah. We're gonna have to work with the school district on that
So-
one. I don't know what to say.
Cause there's 625 homes in there with kids also that go to Battleground School District.
At this
Yeah.
point,
Ridgefield.
Jessica, they can't go in 47 north and then they can move around because they're, they can.
But what about all the kids?
And she's speaking to this.
But even everybody
That's-
east of that,
that's
there's
gonna be a
kids down
challenge.
there.
So you're kind of like, here is Battleground, and here is
Ridgefield, yep.
So to summarize, are you gonna be thinking about putting in a turnaround for the bus?
At this point, we are not planning on it. We are not.
Are you gonna give the school districts advance warning?
We are.
Let them figure it out themselves?
Yes, sir.
Well, ambulances and fire trucks are gonna have to go around too.
That's exactly right. That's the other one. The sheriff's gotta know about this, right?
and the fire department.
And the fire department and Waste Connections and the delivery people, all of these people.
The delivery people are so pissed off already about the last.
I wish I worked for C-TRAN right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we were smiling.
I know. They couldn't go. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
I know, they denied, it's so catchy.
Yeah, and then this is the final leg. At this point now, we've opened up the south leg. And then this leg is open, but this is still closed. Right, so we'll still have that open. Okay. Next one. That's good. All right, so this is basically what you can expect now as we get to the west side. At this point now, 29th is wide open. This is the next part of the construction. Well, let me go back to 29th. So we've got almost all our permits, right? They've certified right away. We're in the process now. We've got 99% done with the design. As soon as we get our final 2 permits, then we'll be submitting to WASDOT, who represents Federal Highways. They'll review it. They'll say, okay, looks good. Then we go to bid.
So remind me, you're anticipating start in 2025?
Yeah, we're hoping that it won't take WASDOT as long as it has been taking, bidding in May.
Beginning in May.
Yeah, open bids in May.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like mid 25 to mid 27.
Correct.
There was some conversation, there's a bunch of utility poles on the corners. Is that gonna be done as part of the shutdown, or are you?
So we've been working very, very closely with our Public Utilities Electric, so that it will be done while we're doing the shutdown, because we have to do some grading work before they can put their poles on the location. Same thing with Clark Regional Wastewater District. We're going to be including their plans in with ours to do the sewer work and the water work at that intersection at the same time. Okay, instead of separate projects. Okay, so this is 179 from 15 to 26, or it ties into the work that we're finishing up at 29. We're going to be starting with the roundabout to here. That'll be the next project. We'll be building a bridge. We'll be closing the road for the construction of the bridge.
Okay, so last time down at school, the 4-month closure came up, and there was discussion around there are ways to kind of slide the bridge in rather than.
Yeah, I hope we get a contractor to do it. I really
The
do.
biggest problem is the part of bridge abutments.
Bingo. You got to get your bridge abutments first, and then
Well, when they come in, they'll come in, those bridges will be pre-stressed if they do it the way they normally do. And they'll use large cranes and just put it in place. But the abutments are steer time, construction time, the whole 9 yards.
the other thing we have to do is we have to change the vertical grade. So we've got some filling work to do there too, building some walls, right? To get that so that it works with a 40-mile-an-hour design. Okay.
Can you remind us the timing on this?
Yeah, so this one 2028.
Okay,
to
so
2029.
this is after.
That's great. So 29th is done
The
and
29th.
opened up. Yep. Yep. Okay. All right. And then once that, I should also say that what we have here is what we call our multi-project stormwater facility. Okay, so we're going to bring stormwater from this project, and this project all the way here. Okay, that's where we're going to treat it, detain it, and then release it. All right. So this has got to be built before we can do 15 and building. Okay.
What's it called, the stormwater treatment?
Yeah, so stormwater treatment facility. Yeah. Okay, next slide.
And what is the start date?
So Delta and 15 will be probably 2029.
2029.
Yeah, because we got to get that stormwater facility operational.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is the plan. Right now, Delta comes in at 179. We'll be shifting it over and tying in to the south. Right, and the plan right now is to do a multi-lane stormwater or multi-lane run at this location. Okay.
And how long is that gonna be closed?
That's what we're working on right now to try to figure out how do we build that, because we've got a couple different constraints. Okay, we've got a couple creek crossings. We got one up here, and then we've got one right here. So those will have most likely in-water work windows. And those in-water work windows say, well, you need to complete the work like from July to end of September, October. Well, that's the busiest time.
Yeah,
And theater season.
All right, so that's our other constraint. If we can't be building this when you've got a 50,000 person amphitheater.
Thank you.
Yeah, going through. So what we're working on now, we're working with the firm Kittleson, is how can we build this in the winter, right? And still deal with our constraints with the in-water work windows and things like that. So it's a complicated puzzle we're still trying to put together. Yeah. So it's possible we may say, if we can close it, get it done fast, otherwise it's gonna have to be segmented and just shifting traffic all over. Sir.
The Delphi, you said it's around 2029?
Yes. Yes. The signal, or I'm sorry, the interchange at this point is anticipated 2028, 2029, 2030. Okay, so all this is kind of going on at the same time. We're coordinating each month. We meet with them. We kind of make sure that we're working together so that we can keep traffic moving while they construct. Again, this is another one we're working with the water department and the Clark Region wastewater, make sure we're building the sewer system, water system, everything same time.
You have a slide that will show how the folks that live on the west side of the freeway are impacted by this development in terms of getting to the freeway.
We do not yet. Do not yet. I mean, as far as like if there's a detour, things of that nature, how they're going to do that, that's what we're kind of working on right now.
You know, it kind of looks like it's multi-lane that you could direct traffic around the north side and south and then do that little corner and then swap it, go the other way and
Yeah,
do it half the
that's what they're
time.
trying to say. Those are some of the different options.
Yeah.
Now, do you understand this has to be 2.5 feet higher than it is right now too?
No,
So you gotta take that, you have to
you
take
would
that.
never
into
travel on that. You'd
Yeah.
either travel on the south side or the north side.
Right.
Because you do have two lanes.
Right. And I don't want to go too far down this path because I know we have limited time, but the thought is this could be built really at any time, right? You keep this open for traffic.
Yeah.
Well, we're building this. This one, we got to figure out how do we build this? This is the biggest piece of the puzzle right now. We're trying to figure out. You got businesses, you got church. You guys know, you got all kinds of stuff over there that's could be impacted.
A lot of traffic.
Fair.
You said multi-lane, you're gonna have a 2-lane roundabout.
2-lane roundabout, that's right.
Right now, for amphitheater and fairground events, they have 3 lanes.
That is correct. That is correct. So again, you don't have signals, but you have the ability, you can control
Well, I
it,
mean,
and keep
it-
moving,
it's
keep traffic moving. No,
sometimes
you're absolutely right. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about too, because they're concerned about that too. The ability to feel it. This is not going to solve the problem. Right? This is going to make it better during the normal times, but when you have a 50,000 person, it's crazy. It's not good. And so they're going to have to look at ways to keep that traffic moving and not stacking up onto the freeway.
So the county owns the amphitheater, right?
Okay.
And they lease it to they lease it out.
Well, you're going down a road that I don't want to be anywhere near.
Fairground.
Yeah,
Why, and the county is doing this project.
correct.
Why are we doing a project that isn't gonna solve the problem?
I guess, can you have 3 lanes going east-west instead of 2 in each direction?
Based on the width that's available there, that's a possibility. I don't know yet. We don't know yet. We're still in the early design right now. I mean, you still have an apron right here that you can use too, right?
Yeah.
You've seen the truck aprons?
Yeah.
So you have ways of getting 3 lanes. It's just narrow.
But I do think it's important to answer these questions, right?
And again,
For our
you're,
neighbors.
well,
We're in the belly of the beast, right? So, like,
you are, but you're above my pay grade so far.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Now, there's a very pretty lady, I mean that the best part, like behind you with her arms out.
I think part of the question, if I'm hearing you correctly, is why are we even doing a Delphi realignment if it's not going to solve those amphitheater traffic issues? And if I understand correctly, it's because we have to get out of Washnot's way for them to do
Yeah,
the interchange.
it's gotta move out of that intersection.
It
Right now,
does.
it's too close.
It does. If we go back, and I'm sorry, we're going back in slides, because I know we have a bit time, but if we go back to the bigger one.
This one?
Yeah, so these right here, take out that Delphi
Yeah,
and take out the
Yeah.
yeah, it's gotta move
I
out.
understand that, and I think like we gotta think bigger then, right? If we're gonna, because I assume we're gonna continue to. have-
Yeah.
I think we're in a really long.
Yeah.
So
And so
what it is,
again-
an issue has been raised. Are we just talking to the wall or is it going to be sent upstairs where other people can address it?
It's not for me to take upstairs.
Right,
Yeah.
it's not for you to take upstairs?
No, sir.
Who is it to take upstairs?
You have representatives there. It's for you to talk to them, right? They
Who's our
represent you,
representative?
the county council.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we need to send emails to our county council.
To sue.
Yep.
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I don't know what else I can tell you. I mean, I'm not your representative. I'm an employee of the county.
Right.
That's hired to build this, get it built.
I'm just trying to figure
Yeah.
out where the next step is. Who's the decision maker?
I want to say just one thing, just on this. I ain't fair statement or anything, but just one of the things we have to look at is the cost and the number of times that the amphitheater is running, and how much time, how much money, how much space it would take to make it work for, what, 20 times? It's one of those, it is a cost balance thing. So that is something, we could build it to cover 50,000 people, but we wouldn't have any money for that, and we run out of space as well. So I hear what you're saying. The bill for that whole fee isn't fiscally responsible.
And it's tremendous burden. This is a tremendous burden on the community. The amphitheater is a tremendous burden on the community. And at some point, I do think the county has to figure out what are you doing for the community?
Let's keep moving, because I have a little less time.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not, I'm not saying that that's not an important road to go down, but
Is this where you want me to be? Or did I go too far?
let's go back. Yeah, okay, so do you guys know about that project? So this is the one that is coming next after 29th.
Okay.
Okay.
Am I in the right spot?
Yep.
Okay.
We're building the roundabout, we're building the bridge, and then we're completing the improvements of connecting what we did at 29th.
Where are we now?
So this is between 15th and 29th.
Okay.
Initially, we're building it so that's a single lane in each direction with a center turn lane, left turn lane, two-way left turn lane, okay? With some right turn drop lanes, right? Similar to the roundabout, we're building it for the ultimate, for the eventually the 4 lanes. Okay?
I want to mention that that is not the same roundabout you're just talking about. That's the one with 15.
That is, yeah, so 29th is here, 15th is here, Delta's on the other side of the freeway. Thank you. Okay,
Oh, so 15th is all, yeah. It's around about.
right, so right now it's a T with a signalized intersection. Okay, everybody with me?
Yeah, what about the interactive map that you guys have on the county website? This doesn't include a lot of the stuff that's on the interactive map.
We're working on that.
Okay.
I actually been working with Haley, works for Haley, of getting this one updated. So the decision to add the roundabout was just actually relatively recently. Before we were just building this portion.
Yeah.
But the decision was, this might be better to build it all at once.
There's also a
rather than multiple
roundabout,
projects.
like right here on the the right corner of your screen too, on the interactive map. There's another roundabout there.
Yeah.
So
the one at 29th?
No.
Oh boy, now you're going down a whole another route, another road, and that's the access management plan. This is their long-term plan for, these are the ones the counties are building. Those other roundabouts that you're talking about, those are intended to be built by development.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Oh, she's got a clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we do need to move forward because we do really need to hear about this.
Okay, so this is 15th. This is the portion that will be built on 15th that will connect you up to the 10th. Next one.
So
Next one, please.
yeah, this is not, I agree too.
The plan in the transportation improvement program is to focus then next 29th to 50th, sometime after 2030. Again, a lot of money they have to get. And then, as I mentioned before, after 2035, going to a roundabout.
So Scott, yeah, so Jeremy and I have been having discussions for months. And one of the reasons that we asked you to come here tonight was to do a lessons learned about the 50th intersection.
Yeah.
So while I appreciate all this information, we've been seeing this for the last 2 years now. We do need to do a lessons learned about the 50th intersection because a lot of us, we were trapped between the two.
Yeah.
There was no communication that it was being closed down. I know somebody was on maternity leave and wasn't able to write the Russian or whatever that needed to go out in the mail. We got to talk about this kind of stuff going forward because closing things down and not notifying people, like that's bad.
You're right. You're
So
absolutely
I would like people to have an opportunity to talk about their experience with closing the 50th intersection quickly before we hand it over to Les, because that was really what Jeremy and I had agreed to having you here tonight was to do that activity.
I'm sorry.
with
I think
everybody.
I've done the rest of it.
So I
apologize for
mean, I'm sorry if he didn't tell you that, but that's what he and I had.
That's okay.
had talked about.
What I do want to say is that the intent of building 50 was supposed to be under traffic. So when we built it, the intent was let's keep traffic flowing.
Right.
The best you can. Now, when you put in, you pave, things of that nature, you have to stop traffic to do that. But we never really shut the traffic down for an extended period of time. But there were periods of time. But you couldn't go to 29 because it was closed.
Exactly.
Right? There was a sewer line that you could.
Exactly.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. We did not, in my opinion, do well at working together with the development community on what their activities were, what we're doing.
So to answer your question, what are you gonna do differently?
So now, again,
What are you gonna do?
okay, so what we're doing now is we're incorporating the sewer line, water line, all of those in our projects. So we're bidding our projects with theirs in our bid documents. So the contractor that builds the sewer line, the water line is building the road as well.
Okay.
Okay. Les is going to come up and talk about other work that's going to occur between 29 and 50.
Okay.
This sewer line, because of the topography, it has to go deep. You can't really build it under traffic and be safe. But we'll let Les talk.
We have a hand raised.
Yeah, Sylvia, go ahead.
Hi, I'm watching from home, and my concern is also similar to that last comment that someone made. In similar situation that happened up on I-5 at the Woodland Bridge, it was being redone. There was no notification, there was no signs, there was no enforcement to keep people off of the Green Mountain Road. So my son and myself, we were trapped up there, and their first responders couldn't get up there or anything. So what kind of public contact and just the normal residential contact, well, how is that going to be how's that going to be addressed, and who is in charge of doing that so that people know you can't go through this neighborhood and overshoot the problem? That's what people were doing up in Woodland, and it caused a tremendous amount of headaches and heartache for months.
Yes. Yes.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I'm the one who was on maternity leave, so sorry if that was inconvenient. So
You don't have to be rude about it. Yeah, I mean, you don't.
Well, you don't have to be rude to us as well. I mean,
I don't think that was
a lot of tension.
I don't think I was being rude, so you don't need to be rude to us the way that you were. So this is all being recorded.
Well, what I'm saying is that it was inconvenient because I don't have someone who can do my job for me.
To send a mailer, to literally send a mailer to people telling them that the road is closed. Correct. Nobody in your office can do that.
I left instructions trusting that they could, and I came back and they didn't. And I can't answer why.
So are you all hearing this? Nobody else in the county except Kaylee right here can send you a message saying that the road is closed. That has to change.
That is not what I am saying. What I am saying is I left instructions for, hey, if something like this happens, here's how you get a mailer out. When they had issues with getting information from what I understand, they were waiting on final information from the contractor before they could send it to translation, which is required because we received Title VI funding before they sent out the mailer. I would have done things differently because what happened then is they got the information from the contractor too late to send out the notice. Okay. So I came back, I heard that didn't happen. I said I would have done things differently, but I can't go back and do it differently. So what we're doing moving forward is I gave my team a different template. And I said, if this happens again, we are not waiting for the contractor. We are going to send high level information and refer people to the website for details. Because sometimes we are not getting information from the contractor about the day it's going to close or exactly how they're going to stage things until a week before the closure. And we're required to go through the county print shop, our contracted interpreter. That takes time. And then it has to get to your mailbox. So we understand that that's inefficient. So that's why we're going to keep it high level and just, I spoke with leadership. I said, we just need to get information out instead of waiting until the information is perfect before we get it out. Number one. Number two is snail mail is inefficient. So we have launched, I fast tracked, we weren't going to start it till 2025, but I said, clearly there's a need for it now. On our website now, you can sign up to get emails.
of weekly road closures and construction updates. We also, my team was only doing road closures and construction information when people were from project managers like Scott, who work for Public Works. Some of these other road closures are ones that go from developers to council. My team never saw. So I told leadership, if we want to be able to include those closures on our website, on the map, in those email notifications, my team needs to be receiving a copy of those when they are going to council and when they are approved. So now, in fact, yesterday, I think it was, someone from our permit office sent me, hey, Kaylee, this was approved by council for this closure starting in January, so your team knows. My assistant right now is working on updating the map that's on our website to show, right now it just shows our projects that are under construction and their impacts. She's going to update it so that there's another color on there that shows developer projects and their construction impacts. She's already started adding the wastewater districts, projects and closures and their impacts. So I can't say why certain decisions were made in the summer because I wasn't in the room. All I can say is now that I've come back, I noticed that there were these issues. We're going to try it differently moving forward and hope that that helps the flow of information. But a lot of it is, like Scott said, on the project side, increasing the collaboration with the other utilities so that we're not just working in a bubble. Okay, we're closing this road. We need to be looking around. One of the things I typically do when I'm about to publish information about a closure or send a mailer is I ask project managers for the detour route. And I take a close look at that detour route and I ask questions like, okay, well, you have it going through here. That doesn't make sense, because I'm not an engineer. So I think about it from the perspective of someone who lives here and is driving that route, right? Maybe I would have caught that closure this summer, that issue. Maybe I wouldn't have, I can't say, but all I can say is, again, we recognize that, okay, everyone needs to be looking at that bigger picture.
What's the, what can we put into the internet now that can get us on this website?
Just park.wa.gov. And you can click under departments and public works, and it's right there in a big green button on our homepage. And so we send it out weekly, but you can also sign up for different types of alerts. So you can sign up for the weekly digest of construction, we call it construction traffic delays. And keep in mind, this is just for county roads. We try to link to information for WashDOT and city streets, but because there are other agencies, sometimes we have to remind them, hey, we're over here. Can you pass us that information? So we try to link to their information, but it may not be as up to date as the information for our projects. And then you can also sign up for a road closures if we have like an emergency one due to weather, or tonight I got a call that a trench on a construction site collapsed, and so we have a road closure somewhere else. So anyways, you can sign up to receive those sorts of alerts as well. And as for what happened in Woodland this summer, that was a WashDOT project, and so I can't really speak to why.
That's over.
Yeah. Yeah, so that big green button right there.
It's right here.
Oh, okay.
Can you send out that website address? I can't read it. Yeah.
We can put it in the notes
Yeah.
on the website.
Yeah.
So then when you click on it, this is what you're going to get to fill out. Then you can sign up for parks projects, road and transportation projects, stormwater, clean water projects.
And so that road and transportation projects will be basically whenever we send out a mailer, we'll send a PDF.
And this is the road closures.
And that's road closures, and then the weekly construction traffic updates. That is a digest of a page that we already update weekly and has a map showing where road closures, or even when we restrict traffic like to one lane, or there's any sort of delay, we'll put it on that page.
Mary, can you click to the other tab real quick? So I can see that web address. Thank you.
Is there a reason you can't link into the neighborhood association mailing list?
Well, so I send updates to Mary Lee and
But you send it, you're gonna just send it out to all the neighborhood association members.
I send it to Mary Lee and she can send it to her contacts, the leaders of your neighborhood association. They're the ones who have that email list. I don't have those email lists for the different neighborhood associations.
Okay, it seems like you could access it directly, and when you send the mail out, it goes from you to everyone in the neighborhood.
I can't have those email lists because lots of people don't want me to have those lists. They don't want they don't want me at the county to have your email lists. So I send them to your presidents and then your presidents can send that information out.
So, as the president who then has to do volunteer work for the county, I am wondering who are the people that don't want their emails, and can we get around that somehow? Because we got real jobs ourselves, ones that pay money. You know, do we know who are one? What do I want to say? You said there's folks that don't want that. Couldn't we just say which folks do want to give you our emails and do that? Not to put you on the spot, really, but you know, I'm trying to lessen my load.
Well, let's talk about that. We're close to the end of the meeting, so let's talk about that at another point and see what I can do about maybe having a neighborhood information email sign up list. I am starting a MailChimp or some sort of an email list serve.
Makes sense. I mean, the sign up they want, if they don't. They don't need to.
Okay.
Also, I just want to be clear what I'm saying too. We are going to wrap up, obviously, but just want to be clear what I'm saying, which is that I'm not trying to implicate you into this thing. I think it goes above you. It's not just about neighborhoods, right? I think the greater question is, why isn't the county able to communicate directly with the residents who live within it in the ways that they prefer, right? So, and I think, and you make a good point, snail mail is slow, right? And so you've set up a system to email and it's certainly a great start. But if it has to come through us now we're the
But if you can get all your people to get onto that list, they're in.
Oh, gotcha. That's not going to me. Sorry. Maybe I
No,
misunderstood
yeah, that one is anyone can sign up.
Oh,
They
thank
have
you.
Oh,
that.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
talk to all your people, get them to sign
Get
up to
them to
that.
sign up on that public works list. Yes.
No, we're already doing. So just,
Yep. So all the
that.
road stuff, go sign up on that list. And I sent
Andrew,
that public works, link that is in the chat for all those that you are online. I did the link and sent that into the chat. And Sylvia, you are, have your hand raised?
Yes, I went ahead and signed up as you were speaking, as people were speaking, but I guess my question is, if I sign up, is this for the entire Clark County or is this just for my area? Because it doesn't ask for your address. It just asks for an email address and your name.
Right. So it's for anything coming from our office, which is for unincorporated Clark County. So if you sign up to receive updates for parks projects, you're going to receive emails for any parks projects that Clark County Parks is doing. So if you sign up for roads, any roads projects that Clark County Public Works is doing, so Troy's team is working on. Does that make sense? Answer your question? So no, we don't have it down to, oh, we're working on Mount Vista neighborhood park, so we're only going to email people who live within 2 miles of that park.
Okay.
We don't have that capability, so we just are asking people, if you want to know about parks projects, sign up at that list. We do have information though, if you're only interested in a particular project, you only want to know about one project, you don't want all these other emails, we have on our website for every project, contact information for a project manager. A lot of project managers maintain their own list of people that they know want very specific information just about that project.
And the snail mail will still continue, right? So that will say within a mile radius type of thing. But this is more broad.
I wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to clarify for the detours. it sounds like you're turfing the responsibility back to the school districts, the fire department, the sheriff's department. Why is this not something that Public Works can take care of and that Oliver should be involved with?
Because, well, my opinion, it's my opinion. So take it with a grain of salt, because they run their departments. The fire department may have an agreement with Fire District 6, Fire District 3, all of the different departments to cover the areas. So they may, during this construction, say, well, during this time, you cover this. Those types of things. It's better to keep them informed of during the construction, this is what's going to be closed. This is how we're going to detour people. So this is how you can get around it. Keep them informed of what's going to happen rather than directing them, this is how we're going to have you go. So they can make their own decisions on what's the best way. It's going to be the same thing with waste management. How are they going to continue to pick up your garbage, recycling? They're going to need to figure that
Well,
out.
it seems to me there needs to be a turnaround for buses, fire trucks, and so on, and maybe that cost should be built into the overall cost of the construction as a temporary thing, just like you put up temporary guardrails, you put up temporary signs, you put up temporary lights. I think this should be another thing that should be rolled into that rather than turfing the responsibility back to multiple jurisdictions.
Thank you.
So
For sure.
who would make that decision for the county?
It's above me. I mean, you could talk to the public works director, you could talk to the county engineer, you could talk to your council. But I've not been directed to do that. And it costs money. And not a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but that's not a direction I have at this point. My direction is notify these people, make sure they're aware of it so that they can take steps to plan for
That's not something that's typically been asked for. I mean, we've had road closures all over the place. It's never been, I've never heard of one where the fire department said, they do figure it out and they can work with other ways. If there are needs that the project can do, we will accommodate that if we can, but it's a communication thing in town. At the school district, we're closing the other schools and they figure out where their buses are gonna go.
Are you a resident here in this neighborhood, or are you with the county? I'm sorry.
I'm with the county. My name's Troy Pierce. I'm with the county.
Thank you.
So, but, you know.
Sir.
Yeah, get access to these slides you showed us.
So I'm assuming that you're from one.
they'll be online.
Yeah. Again, please, what I said about the staging plan, just remember what I said about that. That's our plan. That's what we're proposing. The contractor may come up with a better, more efficient, and I'm hoping quicker plan to get that done so we don't have to keep it closed. But we got to give them something so they all bid.
I understand that.
Okay.
On a street, these slides.
Yeah. We got to give less than time. We're holding you past your time.
One last question, just about timing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things on the interactive plan that you didn't show in your slides. Timing that you mentioned, I don't know, 2028, 2029, widening 179th Street. What are we looking at for timing there? I mean, I've been asking.
Yeah, what about that first slide? Remember that first slide where we showed the Gantt chart and that's the timing.
Okay.
Now that's the public works timing.
Yeah.
Development timing is a whole nother ball of wax, right? That's all going to depend on when people want to develop.
Yeah.
We don't control that.
So if I live 20 feet from 179 and my house is going to be demolished because of the widening, what can I expect?
It depends where you're located as far as the timing of that. I mean, if you're between 29th and 50th, again, we're way out past 2030.
Yeah.
And there's a whole process. And again, this is a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, but there's a whole process that goes down of appraisals, working with you, relocation costs, all of that stuff, so that you get fairly treated for when we impact you.
So basically I have to continue to reach out to the county to figure out what I can do. I mean, reaching out right now, is that going to help me? Is that going to hurt me? What should I do?
And again, are you between 29th and, I don't even know where you're located.
29th, yeah.
Okay, so that one, we're well past 2030. I can't even tell you when the money's going to be available. They've developed, our programming section has developed a transportation improvement plan, which identifies like a 6-year plan of when they want to start steering money towards it. But that's an expensive part of the road plan. They have to find the money to do it. So it's going to be up to 2030. So it's down the road. Yes, sir.
You realize there's 1,000 homes under construction, basically between 29th and 50th now.
Yeah.
That's 10,000 vehicle trips per day.
Yes, sir.
5,000 out, 5,000 in.
Love to be building this before those come, but that's not the story we're reading right now. That's not what we're doing right now. We're letting them build and we're trying to get the infrastructure in to meet that.
There is insurance issue. Roads need to be adequate when the houses get built. So it seems like that segment between 29th and 50th is gonna fail.
Again, you're way outside my wheelhouse. You're out of my realm. I really want, I know I'm not.
Yeah.
Yes.
A quick question.
Last question, and then we'll move on to Les.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I keep hearing a disconnect between developers and what your administration is doing. Can't we make the developers report to you so that Haley can get the information out to the people when those are gonna happen? All summer long, we saw what the county was doing.
Yeah.
And then, the road opened up, only to be closed the next day by the developers with no notification.
And so that's what Katie was talking about. That's what the system that she and her team are incorporating in now. So that when a developer, they have to get approval from the council to close the road. So when that occurs now, they're gonna be notified. So they can get that word out. Oh, council just approved a road closure for this. And so then that gives you the ability to go ahead and research. Okay? Les, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, good evening. It's 8:40. Anybody got any questions? My name is Les McDonald. I'm the Planning and Development Program Manager for Clark Regional Wastewater District. As a district, we are the wastewater provider for unincorporated Clark County within the Vancouver urban growth area. Also, City of Richfield, portions of the south of Battleground, and a little bit out in the Hawkinson area. So we provide service to all of those areas. Obviously, 179th is a very hot topic. Lots of good discussions, lots of good questions tonight. In my role with the sewer district, what I do is I am responsible for approving the sewer related work for projects that are developing within our district area. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of activity on 179th. So I'm here to talk a little bit about what that is going to look like, how that is being integrated with the work that the county is doing, what we're seeing on the development side of things, and hopefully how all of this fits together. So, go to the next one, please. So to start with, this is a slide that shows current active projects within the 179th corridor in the development world, as well as projects, areas that people have inquired about. So the ones that you see in green are the projects that are currently active in some point in the process. When I say active, it's everything from a pre-application at the county all the way through construction. So there's a wide range here of projects. For instance, number one, the bottom left-hand corner, that's Vicky's RV Resort. It's basically done. It's just wrapping up. Should be opening business soon if it hasn't already. On the other end of the spectrum, you might see something like number 11 here, which is the Cozy Manor Estate, something very new. It's got a pre-application in at the county for a residential subdivision. That's as far along as it has gotten to this point. No applications to the district yet, so we haven't seen any plans, don't know too much about it. But that just gives you an idea of the range of projects from the early days with the county applications all the way through construction. Once they get through the permitting process initially with the county, they start talking to us, hopefully a little sooner than that actually, but sometimes it's not until they've started those discussions with the county, they talk to us about, okay, how can we get sewer service to our property that we want to develop? So that's where we come in with my staff. We start with something called a request for utility review. It's an RUR in our terminology, where somebody comes in and says, hey, we got this piece of property up here. I want to develop number 9. how do I get service? And we tell them how that can be achieved. Now, oftentimes, when you're in this corridor, that involves the construction of infrastructure. Or what happened some years ago is the county lifted the urban holding area moratorium, if you want to call it that, for this region, along with also on Northwest 11th and down Northeast 50th Avenue. The challenge, of course, is that those areas do not have utility infrastructure for sanitary sewer. They've got some water, they've got, county roads, that type of thing. And so those types of infrastructure have to be upgraded. And joy of joy, all of you get to live through that process. It's not an easy time for anybody that lives in the area. I feel your pain. I've been through construction like this myself over the years in different places. It is challenging for residents. And it's difficult, frankly, for the agencies to figure out how best to coordinate in such a way that it decreases the impact on all of you as much as possible. And believe me, we try. I mean, that is the intent of everybody that's represented here of the agencies, is the intent is to try to find a way to simplify your life when it comes to how you go about your daily business. And we understand road closures are difficult. They are hard for everybody because they disrupt your pattern. They take you, they cause you to spend more time traveling places. They cause concerns about, am I going to get garbage service this week? Will the mail get here? What do my kids do to get to a school bus? Those kind of things are real for all of you. And we get it, I understand. And I know the county folks do too. So we do try to coordinate as much as we can with the other agencies to try to limit those impacts and limit those closures. Where it gets a bit challenging is in the development, because we do not control the developers' schedules. They come to us and say, we want to build a project. Great. We say, give us plans. We'll go through the process. We make sure you meet the design standards. Yes, this looks good. From our perspective, you may proceed. Now, they're also working with CPU on water. They're working with the county on road permits. They're working, all the various parts and pieces, but they set their schedules. And so when they come and say, okay, we're ready to go, we're not in a position where we can necessarily direct them. That's important because it does cause at times multiple trips into an area to do infrastructure. Where we can, we limit that. And so as Scott mentioned, we're teaming with the county on projects that the county's doing so that we get sewer infrastructure built with them within their project footprints at the same time. And you'll see some of that as we go along through the slides tonight. But developer projects, again, are a little different. We'll touch on that as we go along. But what you can see here is there's 17 projects on this list of green projects categories that are in process right now. So when you say, yes, we're seeing traffic, we're seeing a lot of construction, we're seeing a lot of changes, you're right. And there's more coming. The ones in blue typically are ones where we've had somebody come to us and say, hey, we're interested in maybe doing something with the property, but we're not quite there yet. What can you tell us about how we could get service or what would be required? Okay. They've not made formal applications with the county that I'm aware of. They've not made them with us. They've just kind of inquired. Somebody has inquired about those pieces of property. There's a wide range of these. Some of them, again, you've seen construction. We talked about the apartments. We call these 179th Street apartments because that's how they came to us, number 5 and number 7. The one in between, number 6, the South Ridge, I think that's what they actually are named on the street. If you're out there wandering around. Again, those are well along in construction. Number 8 is the Ridgefield School District site that at some point will become the middle school if they can pass a bond. In the meantime, they're building sanitary sewer. So that latest disruption on 179th Avenue was sanitary sewer related to that. We'll come back to that in a minute. Once you go ahead. So we'll zoom in a bit. So on the west end, we just spent some time with Scott talking about what's going on around the interchange. I-5 here, 179th, the Delfell area. This time to have those changes that he was just reviewing. The 15th Avenue realignment that he was talking about. The lines in blue represent sewer that will be installed in those areas. Okay? Some of it will extend service areas off to the west in the Delfell, where we don't currently have sewer lines. Some of it is being done in support of removing pump stations in putting gravity systems instead, which are more efficient, less costly in the long term. Some of it is extension to serve developments, such as in Three Creeks North here. Why don't you go one more? So these circles represent kind of project footprints, if you will, where we're coordinating between the county and the sewer district in terms of installation of infrastructure. So Scott talked a bit about what was going on in Delta. So for the Delta project, these sections west of the interchange and frankly under the interchange will install sewer with the county's project. So that sewer will go in at the same time. The green one in the middle is developer driven, meaning that it's on their schedule. We thought they would have built it by now. Three Creeks North has been around for a decade and it just kind of keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. We've actually approved the construction drawings for this sewer line from here all the way up.
Does their sewer line need to be in before they start building apartments?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so.
Yes, yes.
You guys do that, or do they
build-
get your permission and then they find a contractor to do it?
They build it with their contract. Okay. So this is one where we've been coordinating with the Department of Transportation about how to get through the creek area, because there's a creek realignment through this section. What it's going to look like out here, how it fits into the county's road work on their multiple projects, all the rest. But right now, this section in green is on a developer schedule. If they don't get with it one of these days, then we're going to convert it into the county's road project and get it built that way, at least within 179. Okay.
Hi, Les. So when I met you at the elementary school,
Yes, ma'am.
the developer said they were going to start Three Creek North sometime next year, maybe?
Okay.
Is that, right? So you're not having those conversations?
There was discussion about it being sold for the residential subdivision portion, which is kind of this eastern half of all this green.
Yeah.
Eastern 2/3. The school district has a piece on the west.
Right.
Right.
Right. It
And then
was
the
building.
apartments would be here. So the subdivision portion was the one we've approved already.
Yeah.
And again, thought they would be under construction by now, but they put it on hold. And then there was some discussion about possible sales, and I haven't heard if that's happened or not.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, they just did the pre-app for the Three Creek East, so
That's a different project.
right.
Okay, Three Creeks East
Yeah, it's the next
is
lot.
for these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this,
Yeah. I assume they were trying to do all.
that's the Gin group is doing that.
Okay.
All right.
So
Okay,
you don't have a timeline then on that?
Well, not at the moment. Like I say, they were supposed to be under construction this year, and then they delayed it, and rumors of sale, and that's the last I heard. Okay. The next piece is the county's project, the county road project, CRP, 15th to 26th, that Scott went over. So again, as they're building that a few years down the road from now, we will include that sewer work. In this case, it's this blue line right here, and it extends off to the east. Okay, as part of that, also a little piece here on the west. Now, moving to the east of there, I'll orient you a little bit. 29th was the roundabout project here, GTA corridor, and then 50th is just off the screen to the right. So here we see some of the more major projects and active projects right now in green. I didn't show them all, but just those that are having a particular effect. First and foremost, Richfield Middle School site. This is the project that needs sanitary sewer to serve the middle school. So they are constructing this purple line in 29th Avenue, and then the deep trunk sewer line, which you've all experienced this fall, coming all the way over to what will be the Whipple Creek East Pump Station.
So it's gonna go out into the road. That's that 3-month closure.
This is the closure that just finished. Okay, because this is the 29th intersection right here.
Yeah.
So they have constructed this deep trunk line, it's a 15-inch sewer main from the pump station site all the way to here. That's done. They're working on this piece up on 29th right now.
We received notice that next year they're gonna close 179th
That's the
Street.
next piece,
Oh.
bear with me. The other part that goes along with this is this Mill Creek Terrace subdivision. They're at the stage where we're reviewing the first set of plans. In fact, we just finished reviewing the first submittal this last week. So they're just getting started with the plan review with us. But they are building the new pump station that will serve this entire region from here all the way over to the apartments. All of this to the north, some of this to the south, up to this point. Everything will go through this one pump station. That pump station then puts it into a pressurized pipe rather than just a normal gravity flow, and pumps it on this dash line all the way back to the west. That's back in there. That work is being done by a different contractor than the school district. They have installed that portion of pressure pipe 229. That's it. That was all done with the road closure, everything in here. That's complete. The rest of that pressure line will go in under traffic. And I don't have a set schedule, but it is yet to be done. It needs to be done basically by midsummer next year, one way or the other. But that won't be a closure. That'll be just some single lane traffic management. Okay. Next, your project, sir. This one right here.
Okay,
Ramble Creek subdivision number 7. And that's the one that will be building the extension of the sewer line from the Ramble Creek neighborhood area on west to their 7th phase of 8. And that's the road closure that's coming up in January that the county council has approved for, I believe it's 3, not
So it starts right at
2 or
our, right at our intersection.
3. Depends on where you are.
We're at
Yeah, it
47th.
Street.
Yeah, it goes west from there. Yeah, it goes towards the BPA, didn't quite reach BPA corridor where it stops. Yes, sir.
Back at your pump station there, the future road grade is gonna be something like 20 feet above your current, like, presume that's been considered.
Absolutely. That's why the pump station is so far off the road, because we're planning for width and elevation changes in the back.
I actually talked to one of your field guys the other day. I'm just east of the Randall Creek, and he had no clue about the elevation changes in the road.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know.
I appreciate that. I mean, the design took that into consideration. Particularly, I mean, here, right? This is, there's a creek crossing right in here, of course. And that's where that bridge is likely to go. That's okay.
I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but my property is supposed to be dropped by 4 to 5 feet.
Sure.
And I was negotiating a sewer line onto my property, and we were talking about how deep to make it. And he was saying, oh yeah, let's make it 6 feet deep. And I was like, okay, well, the road is going to be 5 feet down, so your sewer line is going to be 1 foot deep. And he had no clue. So
and you're on this side?
I'm literally right there where your hand is. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. You need to contact my office. Okay. Don't try to do that through the field staff, because that's not their arena. They're not necessarily going to know the future, right? But hopefully we will to some extent. So we can help you with that. And I can give you a card so you can contact me directly. Okay. All right. So in terms of the projects in this section, again, we've got circles here that talk about how they're being incorporated, right? So the first one over here, we touched on a little bit as part of that 26th, or 15th to 26th section, gravity over there. This one would represent the roundabout work that will be installing some of this blue line right here to the west and to the south. So that'll be done with the county's road project, same time, crossing all those bridges that they're going to build for us. Then this purple one again is the one that is underway now that they finished in here that's related to the school district work. The school district will be doing eventually, when they do their school, this blue run up to the north through the school site, up to their northwest corner. That's so that that line can be extended further north someday as the next properties to the north decide to do something different than where they want sewer service. This little piece we've talked about, which is a developer-driven project, their schedule, they are the ones that make the application to the county council for road closures on their preferred schedule. We have no control over that. And they chose to ask for January. This one is a real unknown because really from the edge of Mill Creek Terrace subdivision coming east, there will need to be sewer. It'll stop here before you hit the BPA corridor. It doesn't need to go any further than that. But it's most likely to happen with perhaps the development of this property, the Cozy Manor or whatever it was called back here, or one of these. That'll be purely developer driven. When somebody shows up and says, hey, I want to develop, I want to put in sewer out here, then we'll say, okay, go through the process, and we will do our best to coordinate with the county and the public outreach branch with the website and all of that was just being discussed to try to disseminate that information to everybody as those come along. But some of these that are developer driven, as I have said, it really depends on their schedule. We cannot dictate to them their schedule. We're a sewer district, we're not a land use agency, we're not a road agency. We don't have the authority to say you can't build now. We can only say you must build to our standards and help make sure they do it.
Do they have any like governing body, or are they just able to make any decision that they want?
Well, if they're going to work in the county right of way, they need to get a county right of way use permit, however it's titled. So there is that. They need to, for us, have gone through plan approval process. We do all that. We do pre-construction meetings, and we lay out for them what the requirements are. But again, we as a district cannot dictate their schedule. Okay? They're governed by state regulations on water quality, and if you're a creek or sensitive area, there's all kinds of rules associated with that when you can work in certain areas. But for the most part, if you've got a piece of property that's out there that's met the approvals, you can do work.
Where's the flow that's east of the BPA corridor go? Does it go east or west?
Okay, next slide, please.
Pump station. It looks like on 50th, there's a pump station there because I see a lot of electrical.
So moving east, there is an existing pump station right here.
Yeah.
It was put in with what we originally called the Woodbrook subdivision. It's now Ramble Creek. That's the Ramble Creek pump station. That particular pump station will take all the flow from east of BPA corridor right over here. And the thing goes into the pump station, that in turn pumps down this dash line right here, goes all the way down to the high school.
So it doesn't have to cross the BPA.
Does not cross BPA. It's a different portion of our drainage system.
Yeah, we already experienced that closure.
Yeah. Yes, you have. And so, that one continues on south. There's another project down here called Beer Subdivision. It comes off the screen a little ways. Right. That will be building another pump station in this area that will gather essentially everything from about just north of 174th. All of that will come into a pump station here at Beers, which in turn, get this, pumps north to this pump station, which then turns and goes right back past it on the way south. It's one of those weird things that sometimes happens in the industry. But that's the 50th Avenue corridor is its own separate section of the system. And all of this goes down to the system by High-Tech High School, WSU, Vancouver. It actually hits another pump station, pumps through WSU and points south.
So all this is effluent.
All this
I
is
take it
raw
all these areas also need drinking water. Do they coordinate putting in the pipes with the PUD and you, or is that a separate, totally separate installation?
Power and water is all done through PUD.
Do they coordinate like you guys are with roads and so on?
Yes, they do. And there's a lot of interaction at different times of the year. And I mean, for instance, I meet with the county staff on a monthly basis to talk about projects that are ongoing and schedules and impacts and all the rest. From the road transportation side of things, right?
So they're not going to tear up the road that they just paved 6 months later to put in a water line.
Well, the county has a moratorium on cutting into new roads for 5 years, so hopefully not. But if they do, then obviously there's some pretty major restoration that would have to occur. There's water out in a lot of this area already, as far as CBU is concerned. I know they have water lines here. They have them in 179. Lumen is out here also. We've had the same struggles with Lumen as the county's had. I'm sorry to say.
What is Lumen?
Lumen is fiber optics.
Oh, thank you.
Fiber optics. Right. Okay. And I think one more slide.
Got a raised hand.
Oh, one raised hand. What do we have?
Sean Newberry. Sean, you have a question?
One on the phone.
Sean, do you have a question?
Yeah, can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious about the Veers subdivision timeline for that pump station that's going in there. I didn't know if you had an update on that.
I am also curious about it. It is the project that has been the longest lived development project that I've experienced in my time in the district. They have been in the land use and environmental permitting process, I believe, for 3 years. They're currently designing the pump station. Now, we have not yet seen the submittal. I am anticipating something this winter with a hope that maybe they'll start something on the ground next summer, but I'm not sure of that schedule yet.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sir, here in front, you have a question? You have a question?
Yeah, if you've got a force main there, why couldn't they build a pump station on 50th and 174th and pump it directly into the force main?
Force mains of that size, the station, don't always play nicely together if you try to share a force main. The pump stations are trying to use the same force main. They have to overcome the pressure from each other.
From the other one.
From the other one. So in this case, they're in series. The one here, this one's out.
So will the new force main go up 50th?
They're already built.
Oh, they're already
Yeah,
built.
when Woodbrook built this, they also built the force main for Veers.
Okay, good.
So that's one of those coordination things where we had them done together
Good, I'm glad.
under one project.
It's not our only out.
As far as I know, we don't, well, I shouldn't say.
I should say,
There eventually with Veers, eventually when it happens, there will be some sewer work in 50th for gravity systems for collection, because that'll be a requirement of development, whenever they get around to it. In the back.
Sorry, one last question. I did talk to it was a project manager, I forget his name, Gonzalez, I think.
He's one of our field inspectors. Yeah.
Okay, so for residents who live along this corridor, what options are going to be offered to hook up? Are we going to be able to hook up, or is there, we have to pay? Is this being covered by the developer? How do we get this information? I don't know if I can trust the information I got the other day.
Okay, yes, and no. So yes, you can hook up. Yes, you will have to pay. And no, the developer will not cover it. So it's a normal process. See, once the sewer is built and accepted by the district and it is available for public use, which means you would come to us and make applications to connect to public sewer. And we have a whole application process. There are fees connected to that. There are connection charges associated with that, plans that are required depending on the scale of what you're doing, all of that. But at that, once it's turned over to us, it's an active line, it's available for use. Okay, so again, I'll get you my card and you can reach out and we can get you up to speed on that. God.
So that's when you build those sewer lines, don't you, if they stub out, you want the future connections to be used, and you're not tearing those.
At times, and 179th is a good example where we have done that. So if you wouldn't mind going back to 2 slides if you can. Yeah, that'll work. So on this stretch, because it's a really deep line, and when I say really deep, wherever they did boring under the hill, I think it's about 40 feet down.
Wow.
Right. A lot of this is in the 20 to 25 feet deep. And a lot of that was done because those hilltops are going to get taken off. So what's currently 40 feet might end up being 25 feet deep, right? But we needed that depth to be able to run that line from here all the way west, all the way to those apartments, because it's going to serve all of that area. And it has to get across the creeks and on the bridges and under the roundabout and all those things. So that's why it's that deep. But within that, can you move that? Within that area, then there are service laterals, 4-inch diameter, that are sized for individual homes to many of these lots along the way, right? And we've got them on our plans. There are also larger 8 and I think in some cases 10-inch pipe mainline stubs that come off of this 16-inch line and go north or south to the edge of the right of way, outside of the road improvements as far as we can get right now. The idea is that those main lines will be extended in the future. So for instance, there might be one right here that's stubbed out and it will continue north so that it can serve that whole draw that comes down through the creek. There's also eventually going to be a line that runs all the way up and goes on up to the very north end. So there, we do put in service laterals for homes where there's a house on a smaller lot that's unlikely to develop beyond what it is. Or if it's a bigger piece that's likely to develop, we tried to put in 8-inch mains that can be extended for whatever future development or use there may be. So in some cases, those laterals will be there, and it's possible, sir, there may be one or try to replace depending on the site, but we can take them. Okay, so I'm gonna come back to it again. I think we are about there. Yeah, so, I guess the one other one here is with Beers, there would be some work at some point that, again, under their schedule, they'd be putting sewer along the frontage of their subdivision within 174. So if any of you live out there, at some point, there'll be some sewer line work along the north side of that development. Okay, I think that's what I have. So, questions?
Update on Beers. They are currently under lawsuit appeal in the county.
Okay, I had not heard that.
Scheduled for early January.
Lawsuit appeal regarding what?
Subdivision approval.
Oh, just outright subdivision approval. Okay, I had not heard that yet. So, all right, thank you. Thank you. Other questions, thoughts, comments, aggravations?
Do you have a business card that I can put your contact information in the chat?
All right, and I do have some cards. I'll get you one. That's in the back here. Okay. And yeah, if you have further questions, please reach out and contact me. I have cards in the back. I will hand them out to whoever.
Thank you, Les.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, I know we are way over, 41 minutes over to be exact. So sorry. So we're gonna wrap up. Who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
I made a motion.
Second, who would like to vote? Aye. All right, we're done at 9:11. That's our longest one yet. Thank you all for coming.
Actually, about to go night.
I think it was very interesting.
Yes.
Like, they don't understand. Like, they just don't understand.
It's going pretty well developed.
Was by any chance Sue online? I don't think so. I didn't see it. She may have been.
She knows. Oh, they all know. They were all on that little drama.
For those of you who wanted Les's business information, I'm waiting for his business card right now, and I'll be typing his email and phone contact information into the chat. I'm sorry it's so noisy. There's people talking up here. Hope you can hear me. If you're looking in the chat, I did type in that I'm waiting for his business card. Looks like some people shanghaied him. I'm gonna go walk back there and get his info right now.
And they walked all the way down to the railroad entrance to meet their family, and I was like, what? And the parents were right there, they were like screaming and yelling at the construction, I'm like, why are they, what are you doing? And it was just such a mess. Like, so I don't want my little kindergartners walking down to construction, so. My parents, so far,
All right, I'm back. I am typing it in just right now. Hang on.
yes, absolutely, I definitely will be. Yeah, thank you. It's hard. I just wanted to apologize. I appreciate that. I just don't think you understand the severity of your feelings. And that we're not. I'm sorry. And like, I just
I know you're 1% and you're on maternity leave. I have children too. But like, this is a really serious time. I'm sorry.
So, and I will do what I can to make it better going forward.
It's like, it's 2024 now, and I don't understand why you guys don't have this system in place.
And like, I'm not given a budget, so I have to embrace and argue at high levels to even get that reach. So I am doing what I can, but it helps when you guys are vocal. And like we were with the 179 Street Hospital. Once people says, oh, I want something else and they want this. And guess what? Then they give me the budget for that. We have it for years, you know? Yeah. So well, have a good night.
I'll hang on for just a few more seconds while you, so that you can get this written down. And then I'll adjourn and I'll close out the recording. I'll go ahead and leave the recording open so that you can get this written down of what I just typed in. And if you let me know when you're done so that I can close it out, because the recording is keeping on running while I'm I've got this going. Or actually, I don't think I have to keep the recording going. So I'm going to adjourn the recording.